I've been up feeling in my head. I come in late at night and in the morning I just lay in bed. Oh, Ronnie, you look so fine. And it takes much time for you to help me, Ron, to help me get her out of my bow, 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 bow. Welcome back, everybody. Like I said, growing up, it's just part of being Southern California, the Beach Boys, and it's such a shame that the brothers have. Over the years, of course, Dennis and now Brian and so I just said, you know what, screw it. We're just going to do an all Beach Boys night. So every song tonight you're going to hear is going to be, and my last one, of course, everybody already knows, but the last song we do for the night will be my favorite Beach Boys song of all time.
One thing that I did this weekend is that my son's music instructor invited us over to have some dinner. He's got a bunch of old musical things, and one of them's a player piano. And he played a couple Beach Boy songs on the player piano, and it was karaoke night on a player piano. So that was pretty awesome.
All right. Well, again, no Rick tonight. Again, if you guys would, we'd appreciate a prayer posse for him and his family, and he'll be back next week, I'm sure.
Happy Father's Day, Rick. God bless you.
At the bottom of the hour, we're going to have Chad Bianco, the sheriff of Riverside County, running for governor. Yep, future governor. But in the meantime, we got a ton of people to get to on the phone. Love it. Let's get to David in Thousand Oaks. David, what can we do for you?
Evening, David.
Yeah, is that me? I got a Garand question. My kid gifted me it's a National Arms, and it's made in Azusa back in the 70s or 80s or something. It's made out of parts. Mm-hmm. My question is about the receiver. Apparently it's cast and not forged. So it's a good-looking gun, but I don't want to shoot it and have it explode. So what's your comment about that?
I think you're 100% correct. I've had those come through, and I've seen them actually where that happened. So a guy came in one day. He had just come off the range, and he was at 16, 17 spots on his face he was bleeding from. Whoa. And he had a Garand in pieces, and it was one of those the aftermarket Garand receivers. So be careful, if it's not that South American firm, I think it's Imbel that makes them. They make them for Springfield Armories. They're the ones that make the M1A receiver too. If it's not them, or if it's not a real one, there was also a company back in the 70s. Blue Sky, I think is the name. They were taking cut-in-half receivers and welding them back together. Oh, man. And so if you've got a gun that says Blue Sky anywhere on it, be very, very careful.
Fire with caution.
Yeah, because when they go, it's not pretty.
I think this is going to be a wall ornament because it's a beautiful object to look at because it's cherry. I mean, the wood is not dented or it's not messed up at all. But, I think I'm just going to hang it on the wall.
I think that's a wise choice. And then the next thing you do is go to Gunslinger Auctions because we always have 4 or 5 Garands.
Oh yeah, this last one we had
we had Winchester, we had Springfield, we had International Harvester, and we had an H&R. So we had all 4 of them. So yeah, just come on down to September 13th. You'll find a good Garand. All righty.
Which location is that you're going to be at?
The auction is held at the Highway 39 Event Center. Go to gunslingerauctions.com. It's gunslingerauctions.com, and everything you need to know will put you right there. All righty?
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the call. Take care now. All right, let's get to Price in North Phoenix. What can we do for you, sir?
Not Price, Farmer Tice.
Oh, Farmer Tice.
Your call screener couldn't get it right, even after I said it 3 times.
Well, that's because it's kind of
a great day at Ben Avery.
Okay.
On Father's Day.
Mm-hmm. Happy Father's Day to you.
My son had a fantastic time with hitting his target. Pretty much about 3/4 of them were inside the 8-inch circle at 30 feet.
Good.
I posted it on the Facebook. And I did surprisingly well. I hit most of them within the 3-inch bullseye with my P365. Anyway, you talked about the riflemen quite a bit in the past.
Yeah.
And the guy next to me had he was shooting a 44 Magnum out of the same rifle that Chuck Connors used. He used a 44-40, I believe.
Well, maybe. Chuck Connors used a model 1892, and they would have been in 4440, 3840, 3220. I don't know that they, unless it's a newer one or maybe one of the Rossies.
Well, I heard.
Well, Farmer, if you're going to interrupt me, I'm going to cut you off, and we'll go to another caller. But if you want to hear what I have to say, I guess you don't. Hang on. Okay, Farmer, you call back when you're ready to behave. I mean, you started off kind of rude, and we'll just go on from there. Let's get to Mark in Woodland Hills. Mark, what can we do for you?
Evening, Mark.
Good evening, guys. You're going to have hopefully our next governor on, and I'd like to suggest that he get more surrogates out there, like Alex Villanueva or Mark Lamb from Arizona, to stump for him, because there's going to be a sympathetic media against whoever he comes up against.
Absolutely.
And Chad needs to staff up hopefully a phone bank as well, so that, the little guy can help him out, and got to flood the zone with support, basically.
Couldn't agree more.
And I hope he becomes governor and will enforce California's anti-mask law of 1873. A lot of states did this, but California actually has one of the strongest, believe it or not, because these were like anti-Klan laws, which means you can't be in an area as a mob and they're breaking stuff. You can't conceal your identity.
Nope.
And that in itself is a violation. So it's a misdemeanor, but, And when you hear people... guys, when you hear people say, I'm for reasonable gun control, remind them it's really just citizen control.
Exactly.
Yeah, reasonable gun control. It's already against the law to shoot people.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
How much more do you need?
Yeah, Mark.
Well, you know what Mark Twain said, right? Politicians and diapers must be changed often for the same reason. I'm looking for some fresh blood in Sacramento, and he is the man to do it.
I couldn't agree more.
I already took down that note about the phone bank's going to try to pump him for that too, because I understand.
And I know he's got a site so you can donate. And
Bianco
folks,
for governor.
Everybody says, "Oh, you Republican can't win in California." Well, you know what? You're wrong. A Republican can win, but you know what it's going to take? A buttload of money, because we got to have commercials, because he's going to be inundated. I mean, just like what they've done, with our president. Everybody and his brother is going to throw lies out there, and nobody's going to. They just get to lie, and nobody calls them on it over and over and over. And so, we need money to fight it. Well, no,
I remember
don't,
Governor Reagan. Governor Reagan had problems on the campuses also, but he put a stop to that with, who was that, Ilioto, or was that Japanese-American fellow? He was a senator. Hayakawa, I think it was. That's right. Yeah. And the two of them did a pretty good job of containing discontent in this state. And we got to return this state to sanity.
I couldn't agree more.
Let the inmates run the mental hospital, okay?
The inmates running the asylum, you bet. Mark, we got to go.
God bless you guys.
God bless you.
Talk to you later.
Thanks,
okay,
Mark.
bye-bye.
Always great call.
Let's get to our old friend we haven't heard from in a little while, Captain Rick out at the marina.
Hey,
Captain Rick, how are you?
Hey, guys, I called to wish you a happy Father's Day.
Thank you, sir.
You know what the official definition of gun control actually is? It's using both hands and hitting your target.
Hey, that's true control, right? True control.
That's like gun control. And I wanted to ask you guys a question. By the way, I support Chad. He knocked it out of the park at the town hall in Riverside, and I want to work on his campaign or sponsor a luncheon. But I'm calling to ask you about RSOs. I sponsor the Women on Target with that other organization, the National Rifle Association. And I always make sure there's a chief RSO. Now, I'm an RSO. I've taken both the CRPA and I've taken the NRA, and I've had a lot of knowledgeable people that I've been around. But when I always make sure there's a chief RSO. What does a chief RSO entail? And when you want to go work for a range, I'd like to retire part-time and work for a range. How do you become a chief RSO? What's the training for that?
I honestly don't know, but I'm sure we'll Well, Jimmy, write that down.
I'm going right now.
If we get the time, we will ask him. Well, we're going to cover a few things that have been dogging him that we're going to get right out of the way right up front. And then I want to ask him about, what would he do if he was in charge while all these protests are going on, and of course, what does he think about Second Amendment laws in California? There's the music, and we're
real fast, Captain Rick. Go ahead and check out NRA training and NRAinstructors.org. They may be able to help you out there.
All right, Rick.
All right.
Okay.
All right, cool.
All right, Rick. Thanks again, and we'll be back with Chad Bianco right after this.